Welcome. This is today's podcast. We are joined here today with our two guests, and this is our episode of
the podcast.
Yes, no pun intended. So today we're joined, and we're just going to discuss a early 70s Japanese cult film, relatively cult. So the cult film is Lady Snowblood. There were actually two of them. We are just going to be reviewing the first one because the second one I've heard some mixed things about. I don't want to go into it. First off, what was your anticipation of this movie like? I guess what you have to say about it.
Oh yes, I didn't really have much of a expectation because I've heard of the reputation of it. But one of the things when you go and watch a movie, personally for me, I try not to have any expectations, or at least expectations. Going off a bit tangent, but when it comes to trailers, especially from film directors that I like or films that I anticipate, I sort of don't watch the trailers, or I try to avoid it as much as I possibly can. Yeah. Sometimes it's difficult.
Same.
But in the case of Lady Snowblood, because it's more of an old film, there wasn't so much media hype about it.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate to avoid that. The only thing I knew about it was the influence it had on Kill Bill.
Yeah, now that's the next thing I was just going to mention, was obviously this film has a huge influence on Kill Bill, and going into that, did that change your perception on the movie? I mean, did that alter how you were going to look at the movie?
I think one of the connections I had, one of the first connections was the song at the end of Kill Bill, which incidentally was the beginning theme or song of Lady Snowblood, and so I had that connection already.
Yeah. What was the name of the song, Jim?
Flowers of Carnage.
Flowers of Carnage. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah. So so that's sort of the reason. I was curious about it. Maybe, I mean, to be honest, you're probably through Kill Bill.
Yeah.
But after watching it, I have a very different opinion about Kill Bill.
Yeah, no, so I think we all do. So moving on to our next mystery guest. What was your expectation? What did you think of Lady Snowblood?
I thought it was like a solo film, mainly directed by the inspiration of Orenshi from the first volume 1 of Kill Bill.
Yeah.
But it turns out it was a lot more than this. Like, say it's kind of like she's taking revenge against 4 villains, but it's just replaced Kill Bill, like with Uma Thurman, and that's pretty much like Lady Vengeance in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Lady Vengeance character was obviously Uma Thurman was completely influenced by it. But the interesting thing I found more effective about the movie, I think you did too, was also how basically instead of getting direct revenge, she was born for revenge. She was pretty much basically a figure of revenge for her mother. Do you think that was better than Kill Bill in general?
In some ways, yes.
Yourself? I mean, not being a direct, like...
To be honest, I think they were... I have less liking to Kill Bill, but I wouldn't say that it's better than Kill Bill. I think it's probably more original than Kill Bill. Therefore, kind of making the two films, in a way, quite different in terms of categories for me. That's I think by the way, are we going to do spoilers?
Yeah, we'll do some spoilers, why not?
Okay.
I mean, just close your ears when we tell you to on this podcast, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to talk about the film or films without spoiling it. I guess one of the things I sort of do when I watch or listen to a podcast is make sure I've seen the film that people are talking about, because I don't
Otherwise
think...
you'll be lost or confused.
Yeah. And I think there's more of an interactive sort of enjoyment of listening to, a discussion of a film that,
You're completely aware of
that you've seen, yeah.
And you've seen, yeah. Another thing I like to just mention, the movie is itself. I'm not sure if it would be considered a B-grade movie. We discussed this, but it certainly didn't. It had a sort of B-grade charm, but it certainly didn't feel like a B-grade movie. It felt much more higher than that, much more above that. Do you believe it was a B-grade movie, Big Kev?
Oh, definitely not a B-grade film. I mean, it's only considered B-grade when you compare it to, you know, our own more modern standards, pretty much.
Exactly. I mean, for the time, this was Toho Studio. This was a decently budgeted movie, and I just thought it was really well directed. Do you believe?
Anything made by Toho at the time in the 70s was pretty much good.
Yeah, it was pretty much just prime, like hit after hit, coming out from that studio. An interesting thing I wanted to mention about the movie was there was a large amount of gore I noticed in it, and I think that was one of the first Japanese movies to have excessive amount of blood. I liked it. I thought it was cartoony, kind of.
Well, I thought the same as well. I mean, like, I just love that amount of thick red paint that just sprays all over the place.
Bright red paint.
I mean, it's a good ad for Bristol paints.
It is, yeah. Shameless self-promotion. And I can see obviously where Kill Bill got all the gore effects, like especially during the Crazy 88 slash-up scene. It was just sprays everywhere.
It's just a way to pay homage to the great directors at the time.
It's true.
Especially the Lone Wolf and Cub and all those old-school samurai films.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the movie actually influenced a lot of, how can I put it, I guess, I wouldn't say slasher films, but excessively over-the-top violent movies, and I think this is one of the first ones of its kind, where you'd actually see someone get sliced and the blood would squirt everywhere. Like,
plus, now that we have better ways to show blood on the screen, it's a lot of it considered as B-grade now.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's true. It's I guess at the time it probably wasn't. It's probably seen as a much more high-class movie, but the gore effects do kind of put it in the campy territory, which is a shame because if it didn't have the excessive amount of gore, I'm sure it wouldn't fall in that cult sort of territory that it does. It would certainly be up there, I guess, with probably a much more highly respected, like, you know, samurai flick in general.
Oh, definitely. Plus, it keeps the audience intrigued and engaged.
It does, yeah. Any opinions on the gore? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about the genre itself. Do you think that the samurai genre is related to the violence on screen? Or is that separate? Because you were talking about how that might, you know, be elevated to a higher level of samurai genre. Yeah. But is this samurai genre intrinsically a violent genre?
It depends on how you see it. I mean, like, I guess obviously all the classic early 50s, you know, Kurosawa, sort of Doom, or, you know, pretty much any sort of early, you know, movie in the 60s, the genre was violent but never excessive. I mean, like in Yojimbo, you see a hand get chopped off, but it's just, it is violent, but I think this one pushed the boundaries in terms of showing visually. What do you think?
I mean, I think for this one, it wasn't necessarily the violence that I can imagine it being shocking at the time. I think it's the implications of the abuse of the Lady Snowblood's mother.
With like being raped for like 2 days, and
yes, those implications I think are more shocking.
Than actual, because the actual gore itself was just like I said, it was over the top, and it's hard to get quite offended by. It wasn't. I feel as if, you know, the mother, the whole rape scene for 2 days was more of a psychological factor, psychological violence.
And
Big K.
Yeah.
What do you think of what do you think of the psychological aspects, like the mother
of Lady Snowblood?
Her mother, like the abuse that she went through. Is that more violent than the actual gore?
When you think about it, right, I think the implications are much worse than any sort of gory or physical violence in itself. And I think the traumatization, it definitely lasts a lot longer.
Yeah.
It's ingrained permanently.
What was one of the highlights of the film for you, John?
I personally just like the style of the movie, the overall style, especially when introducing each character had its own freeze frame, and then it brought up the character's name, and I obviously see where, you know, Kill Bill got its got every influence from it. I think the finale was pretty deep the more I thought about it. But overall, I think just it wasn't a style or a substance movie. It was the style actually had a good purpose for me personally. Big K, do you have a highlight of the movie? Anything else?
Well, I really like the way she finished off like the final villain.
Yeah.
Like it was just an all-round showdown, especially where he used like the guy to cover him as a disguise, the face mask. You just thought, was that it? But no, it doesn't. Just doesn't finish him off yet.
No.
It's not over.
Not over. It was like what was that American flag thing you thought you saw? The Japanese and American flag.
I thought like when he fell off the balcony between the American and the Japanese flags.
Yeah.
I thought that was like that. It represents the tense relationship between the two countries.
Sort of imperialism. Yeah.
And how the Americans are hurting the Japanese spirit.
Yeah. True. And but it was set in the early 1900s, late 1800s, was it? I think it was.
I think it was like 70s or 80s.
No, I meant the actual setting of the movie itself. What was it? Early 90s.
I think it's 16th century.
16th century?
Or
No,
17th.
it's
was
1870, I think.
That's when she's born.
Yeah.
1870, yes.
Yeah, because we also have the introduction of the pistol in the film.
Yes. Which was kind of a homage to Yojimbo
Yeah.
pistol, maybe?
Possibly.
Maybe not. No, it's
But it's probably representative of the timeline that it's trying to replicate.
yeah. Weapons started being brought back from the US to Japan.
It's. What do you think about the difference between the violence or the fight scenes or fight choreography in samurai films, such as this one, and say the Hong Kong or Chinese wuxia genre, martial arts genre?
Oh, that's a good point. I think Big K is more of an expert with that.
Well, for me, I definitely prefer the samurai films because at least they offer gravity, a realistic kind of like just realistic physics. Like I personally don't like wuxia as much.
I think there's beauty in the both. I think wuxia is more of a ballet between two or more rivals when they fight, and they last quite long. Whereas the samurai sort of fighting seem very short and sharp. The precision of the samurai fights, so to speak. With Lady Snowblood, we see her as a skillful assassin in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because she only needs one slice, so to speak, per person that she encounters that's in her way. Yeah.
Where she gets trained up essentially, and another thing I liked about the movie was showing her training. The barrel down the hill.
The
Barrel down the hill. That's right, BK. Yeah, I think that, and obviously, once again, we come back to Tarantino full circle. But Kill Bill Volume 2, I saw some similarities with the training.
Yep.
And I realized, oh wow, that was another blatant ripoff.
So, could you tell us a bit about the synopsis of Lady Snowblood for you?
Synopsis?
Yeah, I mean, is it hard to... I guess because it's one of those things, I guess you probably need to, give the listener the foundation of what the film is about if they haven't seen it, I guess.
So essentially, I mean, Big K, you can help me out if my memory's hazy, by any chance. Essentially, it's just a revenge flick, but her mother, essentially, her husband gets killed by a group of criminals, yeah. They wrongfully accused them of being some sort of politician.
Working for the government?
Working for the government, yeah. So they decide to kill him, and his mother witnesses it. Then obviously she gets raped by the criminals. And the thing is, with the criminals, is there's 4 of them. Once again, very similar to Kill Bill. And the exact same camera techniques of, it's at a shot where she's looking up at the 4 of them, showing their power and evil. And then she's born. But the thing about the movie is that she's born at the beginning and we see the movie unfold. It explains that she is pretty much a tool for vengeance for her mother. Yeah. And then she just tracks down the 4 criminals, and that's pretty much it from there.
And then it makes you think, after she kills them, what next?
What next, yeah. Is she completely satisfied?
She's completely satisfied that, she probably ends up dying in the film, and that pretty much answers and concludes the question of what she does afterwards.
But is she satisfied?
Well, that's the thing. We can talk about the ending if you want. I mean, I don't think so. I think it's quite a sad ending because spoilers alert. So cover up your ears and your eyes if you don't want to hear about what's coming up. But I think it's quite a sad ending because she fulfills her killing all the criminals, but at what cost of the blood of others?
Or maybe that her death is more like a form of relief, pretty much.
Yes.
I don't think she dies at the end.
Because there's part 2.
No, I think the last frame is a close-up of her. So, and then she gradually sort of moves upwards, and she makes a sound, and then it cuts. The movie finishes. So they could have cut it more obviously if they wanted to show that she's actually dead in the snow by leaving in a wide shot of her just
face down
with
blood dripping out.
Yeah.
Big K's pointing to Jim. No comment.
I think she was never really happy. I think realizing that vengeance for her felt satisfactory, but I don't think it was.
No.
I think by the end of it she was very torn because the last person that she took vengeance on, she had to kill him by killing the son who she became friends with, and she also realized in that case that it was quite awful vengeance. And not only that, she gets stabbed right at the end by a daughter who's seeking revenge for a family member too that she killed.
Yeah.
So it actually becomes a very cyclical thing. I think the film is trying to tell you about vengeance. That it's not something that you can feel satisfied afterwards. In fact, it actually consumes you to the point where it becomes you, and without vengeance, what are you? To that point. And by the end of it, I think her dissatisfaction or her sadness or anger or frustration by the end, even though she's killed all the people she needed to kill, was that now what?
Now what? Yeah. Well,
I've lost so much of myself, my identity. Now what?
Yeah, Big K.
Yep, and plus to add into addition, she's a character who probably has no concept and doesn't understand the idea of forgiveness at all.
Exactly. I think she's actually a really sad character because her whole life is just to get revenge, and that's it. She's a machine. She's just trained to get revenge for the purpose of her mother. And I also find that I felt sorry for some of the criminals in their older age. I think the first one, he felt very innocent, like he had no choice but to do it, and she had to kill him regardless because it was part of her path. I don't know.
Yeah, right. I think if that was the intention, and probably it was, I see your point. If that's the case, it should have escalated more and more in terms of the sympathetic component of her revenge. So each of the 4 people should have escalated more and more in terms of how remorseful we feel or how sympathetic we feel for the people that she's going to kill. But it sort of didn't for me, particularly the last 2, the girl, the woman, who shows no mercy of what she did to Lady Snowblood's mother. And the last person she had to kill was so cowardly that he pretended like he was dead for a while, faked his own death. So I didn't feel any sympathy for the 4 people that she took vengeance on, really.
The last one, he obviously used the pistol, and so he didn't fight like a man. He decided to use a gun, which was
very cowardly.
Yeah, very cowardly. Yeah. Okay. Did you like the villains? The 4 criminals, the villains, I guess. But who was the villain? That's the big question.
The villains?
Yeah, the 4 criminals.
Hang on, did the lady use a pistol as well?
Yes, she does.
She did.
Yeah. So
she
so
did.
the two people at the end.
But in the end, they're all cowards, pretty much.
Yeah, she couldn't even face her own sort of showdown with Lady Snowblood. In fact, she decides to end her own life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
So it was suggested that the main criminal killed her.
Oh,
There you go.
There you go.
Turned to kill her.
Oh, and plus for the first villain, he was willing to give away his daughter, just so he can live his own selfish way
Yeah.
of life.
That's true. Just to escape out of his debt. Yeah.
Oh, Jimmy, how can you explain more about that? How was it suggested?
Well, as stated by the son,
What did the son say?
that he returned to silence the only other witness to his fake death.
Oh,
Oh, that's a good point.
right. I think we all missed that except for Jimmy.
Yeah, except for Jimmy. He observed it.
Yep.
The Big J.
Yeah,
Big J observed that. Okay, well, we'll start to wrap it up soon. But overall, I mean, I personally will go around and just give it a score out of 5 stars, I suppose. No, out of 4 stars. So yeah, do the Ebert system. Personally, I'd give it 3 out of 4 if I was to review it. It's not terrible by all means. It's a very well made movie. It's not, like you said, I've seen some bad samurai movies that are poorly directed, poorly acted, poorly written, but this was actually a very well written movie, I believe. And also the directing of it, the style, it was one of the first movies to stylize violence in an excessive, I know, I hate to say campy way, but at the time I guess it can be seen as campy and influenced many gore fests for years to come. So if you're a fan of any sort of slasher or even horror movies, I think that this stands out on its own. So, yeah. Final wrap-ups, Big K?
For me, I give it a 3 out of 4 stars.
Yeah,
I thought the confrontations between Lady Snowblood and all the criminals could have been, just more intimate and more well choreographed.
And Big J? Give a number out of 4.
Probably 3 out of 4 stars.
Okay.
It's a bit slow at the beginning, I think, to set up, and too many repetitions. But some very interesting ideas, especially ideas of sins of the fathers repeated on the children. You look at all the criminals, each one has a child who has to reenact the sins of the father, whether it's vengeance or redemption in case of the son, or sort of regretful vengeance in the case of the younger daughter. So there's some really nice ideas, and plays with vengeance quite nicely, but slow to start off.
Yeah, very slow. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. 3
Okay.
and a half. 3 stars out of 4 for me. I liked it, and because I thought it was for genre very thoughtful in terms of how it sort of plays with the chapters, and not afraid to go back and forth in time. Usually the vengeance story usually sort of you go on a straight line because so you build up the anger with the main character, whereas this one's not afraid to sort of show where the seed of the main character, where she wanted, why she wanted revenge, and how long vengeance actually takes to be fulfilled. It's not a fast sort of process that revenge takes such a long time to be planned out, and through the process of planning out vengeance, one loses one's own identity, oneself, and I thought that was quite an interesting idea. So yes, so 3 out of 4 for me.
Yeah, interesting to say about revenge movies being on a straight line. Obviously, I can never look at Kill Bill the same again after seeing Lady Snowblood. But the other movie which she was influenced by, I think it was They Call Her One Eye, I believe it was. It was a revenge movie with a girl with an eye patch, essentially. And that's a very linear story. There's no flashbacks, but yeah, very similar concept as well.
Well, why don't we do an extra bonus round, which is why? What are the sort of things that Kill Bill took from Lady Snowblood?
Okay. Let's try to think. I think just introducing the characters with the stop, slowing down and showing a title sequence with their name. That was another thing with showing each criminal, essentially. That was one of the main ones for me. Big K.
The final battle between the bride and Orenishi, especially in the snow setting.
Very similar to Lucy Liu's character.
Mm.
Yeah. And also the music.
Yeah, and the usage of the chapters. I think to be honest, there's a lot. Arterial spray. It seems very much, and limbs being chopped off. The crazy 88s wear those masquerade masks, and at the end of this film of Lady Snowblood, they're having a masquerade party, almost the same party as in the end of Kill Bill 1.
Yeah.
The training of the protagonist
came in Volume 2.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot, and I think you definitely have more respect of Lady Snowblood, realizing how influential that film is, particularly with Kill Bill. So yeah,
and Tarantino in general. That's really good. Just one quick thing before we wrap it up. Obviously, this did get a local release here in Australia under the Eastern Eye label. You didn't get that original release?
No, I saw it on the shelf.
Yeah, same with me. I remember seeing the big titles like Influence for Kill Bill Volume 1, 2, so Madman had no problem. But apparently that DVD wasn't particularly good. It had no extras, and it was one of the early releases from Madman. But yeah, the most recent release is the Arrow release. There is a Steelbook edition, and it also comes with the sequel, which we don't have much interest in. What was that, Jim?
Steelbook's out of print.
And Steelbook's out of print, so if you can find one, please do so. Comes with an array of extras, including a booklet. But just before we wrap it up, does anyone have any intentions on seeing the sequel?
I'm not sure, because I have a problem with sequels because it may... it's sort of... To me, if you're going to say this is the second part of this world by saying it's part 2, then you really got to have a lot of respect for the first film. And from what I heard about Lady Snowblood Part 2, so to speak, is that it isn't respectful to the original. So,
well, my concern is it will also change my perception on how I see Part 1, because Part 1, the story's over as far as I'm concerned, and to kind of cash in just doesn't seem right. And I don't know if it's going to be like a Sanjuro to Yojimbo. It'll be interesting, even though Sanjuro is not a bad movie by any means. Big K, would you see the sequel? Out of curiosity.
Out of curiosity, because we can't really confirm yet that she's dead in the first one.
Yeah. Well, she obviously comes back.
And plus, I want to know what purpose she'll have in the plot line after she's pretty much fulfilled her destiny.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that was our. Oh, and Big J, would you see the sequel?
If I'm really bored, I guess. Nothing else to watch.
Okay. Well, that's it. That's our podcast. It's in the car, the podcar, where we review all types of movies and share our opinion. Hope you enjoyed it. I was joined with myself, Little J, Big J, Big K, and Little K. And that was Lady Snowblood. We will be bringing more reviews to come, so look out.